Want to distract myself for like a few minutes before I get back to work. I'm in focus mode, so I'm a little bit tired. Let me just distract myself a bit. And I want to say this very interesting story, right? There was this day about it's a few years ago because I've always been a big gamer. I love games. I love games. I don't know whether there's gonna be a day where I don't play games. I'm a gamer. So there was this very one day. There was this day. It's years ago. I was still in secondary school, my former school, and we're going back because there was a way. At some point when we were going back from school, there was a bus. There was a bus because where I live at Damas. So I was like, the journey was at least long to get to the house. So there were buses that took us home, but not buses from the school, buses from out of the school that we paid, and it was cheaper. So you could either enter the bus and pay cheaper, or you could go down or you pay expensive, or there's a road you go down, a pathway you go down before you pay, and then that's when it's a little bit cheap too. So most of us took the bus. Like it was just cheaper. Like it was a no brainer. Every student wants to save more money to do any other stuff, like to even spend more to just eat more, right? So this day now, we usually went back in groups. We usually went back in groups as usual, like normal students. So there was this very day now. I met this guy. I don't know whether that day I think I was with a group of friends still. But it was this very interesting guy. In fact, one thing that interested us the most about the guy is when we left school that day, we entered the bus. We entered the bus and we're like while waiting because the bus has to fill up. Everybody like the bus had to fill up, right? So people that are going to where we are going to, where I was going to is Damas. Everybody that's going to Damas has to enter the bus until it's full before the bus moves. So entered and also yeah, one very interesting thing to note is if you wanted to take the bus, come early because there is a high chance you come later and the buses are already too full. Or like there were a lot of nuances to it. So if you want to take the bus, come kind of early, all those kind of things, right? So we like my group of friends, we always had a way to rush, especially those that were living in my where I lived. We always had a way to rush, so we rushed and entered the bus while waiting for the bus to get full. We were stress free, so we rushed. We entered the bus, we were waiting, and then this very interesting guy, like the where the school where I first went to secondary school, was speaking English. I don't want to talk about the school's name, but there was English and French. There was a French section and there was an English section. So the guy was from the French section. I was doing the English section, of course. So when we entered with my friends, we were like discussing a little bit, not too much. I was even just one or two friends that day because bro, that bus stuff, like everybody was just speeding to enter the bus. Everybody wants to enter the bus. So once you're done and someone is wasting your time, it's like I have to still do this. I have to talk to some girl, whatever. Like bro, I'm gone, right? Everybody wants to enter the bus. So and it was this was still like the junior years, from one, from two, I think from three. I think from three. Yeah, I think from three because of the gaming experience. So with this guy now, we now enter the bus. I'm discussing with my friends, and then a French guy comes in. He's big, like he's huge. I mean, he wasn't not huge. He's fat actually. He was fat, and sometimes because of the way our mind works, we sometimes relate fat people with money, something like that. Like that's the kind of rich, they kind of fit well, they kind of eat, like they eat at least well. So we kind of also relate. Everybody will agree that we relate fat people with money. Like you don't get fat if you don't eat well. But in fact, I'm even trying to explain logic. No. So yeah, this fat guy comes in with like two or three friends too, and he sits. We were always looking for seats like when you're younger, you're looking for seats. You usually want to sit near the window. In fact, just for the fact that there's air and then there are students, things. So many things can happen. You don't want any bad sense around you just from closing and all these things. So, I even think that day was Wednesday. It was a half day. There were still half days then. It was a half day. Like Wednesday, we close not on normal times. We close around 12. While full days we close around 4, 3, 4, something like that. So when we entered the bus and with my group of friends, I think we didn't even sit in a way that we could converse. I sat near the window and my other friend sat near the window on the next chair. The other friend sat behind on the next chair. The guys down came and then the back seat was still free. I think there were two or three of them, French guys, sitting at the back. And then the guy had just bought a CD. I think it was something Call of Duty, something. These gaming CDs. I think it was for either an Xbox or was for a PlayStation, something like that. He bought it from a guy. because when you left my school, my secondary school at that time, there was a little hill you had to climb before you enter the bus, or if you wanted to take your taxi for cheap or whatever, you go down through the hill. Or some it's slope where you go down and then you stand down and take taxi. So when you climb that hill, I'm just trying to explain that from school. When you're climbing that hill, there were people like normal people doing their businesses, selling CDs, gaming CDs, all this kind of things, selling any all the students kind of stuff, all these things like even this breast kind of any kind of things you can find it there. But yeah, so it's business, right? So the guy had just bought that CD and he was explaining how I've played it one. I think it was maybe Call of Duty 2 or something. I'm sure. Yeah, I don't know whether it's Call of Duty 5 that's out now. But anyways, the guy was I've played the one. Until I've completed the one. Until I've done this with the one. He's speaking in French, and I and my friends were just looking at each other. Oh, the one, oh the one. And at that time, I hadn't really played Call of Duty. I don't think I had. No, I hadn't. I hadn't really played Call of Duty by then. So it was so, and I was a gamer. I was an avid gamer. I was so intrigued by that. Like, play the one, play the one. I didn't talk for a while. In fact, I don't think when he started speaking, he didn't speak with the CD yet because I intervened. I started talking when he brought the CD. I was like, "Whoa, bro, let me see the CD." All these things. So when he was speaking, I played the one, played the one, played the one. He kind of showing that when he bought it, first of all, put it in his bag. So he now when he was while talking now and talking about how he's played the one, he's played the one, he's played the one. He now removed the CD, and he was like, "This is the one. This is now the one. I'm going to play this today, whatever." So I was like, "Oh, bro, that's interesting. You played one and anyways, I now entered the conversation. I was like, bro, let me see the CD, and he has you know how this gaming disc, yeah, those CDs they used to have books in them. I was looking at the book and I was asking a few questions. How was the one, whatever. I told him how I played FIFA, I played GTA, all these kind of games, and he was like, bro, oh. He asked me which console did I have. By then, I don't even think I really had a console. But I had a friend with whom we usually had a console, something like that. Let me just leave it at that. So I kind of told him that actually, at the moment, I don't really have console. Like I started up, right? I don't really have a console. I gave it to my parents, holidays, that kind of things. That's when I have the console. But I would love to play at this place because gamers like to associate with gamers, right? So I knew he wasn't going to refuse. But he told me what he kind of told me was that during the week he plays, but his parents don't like him bringing friends in, so it's only during weekends. So I was like, okay, bro, when program, whatever, whatever, everything. It's gamer shit. Like, we just understood ourselves. The guy was from French section, I was from the English section, so we have almost nothing in common. That we exchanged names. I can't really remember the name of the guy. Let me call him John anyway, because I can't really even remember his name because it was an interesting experience. I'm getting to the story. I'm getting to the interesting bits of the story. So, John, I exchanged contact now. No, I didn't really exchange contact actually. All we really did was we just discuss, and then with my few friends and his few friends, we discussed a little bit. John was the most interesting guy for me, so I stayed with John, and then John was like, "I just leave during the chat as the bus left and the bus was like going during the chat now. The guy John was like telling me how he just leaves at an entrance. My entrance is a little bit further ahead after Rompo in Damas. After Damas, my entrance is a little bit further ahead. His entrance is a little bit closer to mine. I was like, okay, bro, no problem. When we drop and then we are moving, let's take the pathway together. You're going to show me entrance because his entrance could lead to my house somehow. So let me leave it at that. So when the bus dropped and then we left now, we were going now and then we arrived at the destination and then now we had to now walk. I was still conversing with him and we were still discussing. We was talking about games like bro, games. I don't know if there are teenagers not passionate about games. I don't really know that. So we're just talking about games. We didn't even talk about anything other than games because I was like, bro, I found my gaming mate, bro. Like he really loved gaming. It's not even about the game. It's about the part that he could just play anytime he wanted. Why me? I couldn't. Not really. So it now happened that I now yeah actually before getting there we now arrived the place. He was like, okay, this is my house. He was in a gated place, but cool house, gated everything. So he was like, this is where I live. You can't come here. This we're gonna program it. We programmed it already. We did everything. Like that was like a Wednesday. I didn't even have to see context. I'm just putting in context, right? I didn't have to see him until Saturday. The Saturday I came to his place. I didn't have to see him any day, any of the other days until that Saturday before I went to his house. So you already program everything. We're like, okay, Saturday come. I think, yeah, I think actually it was Sunday. I think some there were weeks where we went to school on Saturdays, something like that. So we programmed it for a Sunday, and it was Sunday afternoon, like almost evening time, so we could play to evening time. I maximize it because I remember that Sunday I even came early. I came around 2, and my mind was I'm going to play from 2 to at least 6, and then you see. So I already got that all of that in mind. So the guy showed me the house, we programmed it, we already like Sunday I'll be there. And I was the only one really interested with playing. I had another friend that lived just around him, but he was like he wasn't really was lukewarm about it. So when we programmed everything, I was like, okay bro, see you on Sunday, the day we program. School went on normally, right? That Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That time I even went to school on Saturday. That time I was going to school. So there were Saturdays I was going to school. Sunday came now, that Sunday, woke up all whatever. Very excited. You know how bro gaming makes you it really makes you excited. I was so excited. I was like, okay, today I'm going to go play game, all this kind of stuff. So at I mean, I'm a punctual guy. Like, even up to today, I'm a punctual guy. But if you tell me to do something at 2, if you tell me to let's be here at 2, I'm always the kind of person that will be there at 2:05, like 5 minutes past 2, because I'm like it's not late, it's not too late to complain, it's not late, and usually most people don't respect time, especially where I'm from. So it's kind of early, but it's on time. Like that's how I'm always. But that day, bro, at 1:30, I was already leaving my house. Before 2, I was there because bro, it's gaming, bro. It's gaming, right? So I arrived. I don't even know why I didn't put this into context. I don't know how old I was. It was probably around 13, 14, something like that. So, something like that. So I arrived his house, and I was like, there was the bell, right? The bell. I had to press the bell, and then he was like, okay, come in, come and sit. And it was a cool house. He showed that they were not so rich, of course. They were not so rich, they were not super rich, but they were rich. They were cool. They were good. I don't know what the parents did. In fact, the story is getting this way it gets interesting. But I don't know what the parents did. I don't know what he did for a living. I don't know any father, mother. I don't know whatever. And he brought me into the house. It was a little garden. There was a car parked outside. He brought me in. He told me to sit down. There was a place. It was like can I really show anything? I can't really show. But let me like explain because I can't. It's nothing similar to this. There was kind of a chair where just like when you enter the door, you enter the house. There was a chair where it's like a guest chair. Like you just sit there when you are not yet going to the parlor. Like if you're not going to the living room yet, you first of all sit on that chair. So the goal was that you sit on the chair, then they receive you, something like that. Like, bro, I don't know how the house. That's how the house was designed. Like this rich people thing. So he brought me to that chair and he was like, sit down on that chair first, and he's coming. I kid you not. The guy, I sat down on that chair for like an hour, but with my the way I was excited, the hour didn't matter if he was coming. I was a little bit worried because I was like, why am I sitting here for an hour? I hope there's nothing wrong. I sat on that chair for like an hour. The guy was very. It was very actually very surprising. So when I first came and sat in the parlor, because I wasn't even in the parlor yet as I'm explaining, I was just at the chair, just not so far from the door, and then there's a parlor now, and then there's a corridor that leads now to the rooms and whatever, right? So actually I was seated. I wasn't really into the house, and I wasn't really out of the house, so I was somewhere around the corner. But there was another door out. I think there were like two more doors out of the house. There was a door out of the house from the kitchen. I know that because of what I'm going to explain later. There was a door out of the kitchen section, and then there was a door out from that corridor. There was a balcony that was leading out of the house too, from what I know. So I know only these three doors, but maybe there were more. I don't know. And I know that the door out that was leading from the kitchen or something, that was where they kept their washing machine, kind of thing. Because even when you enter from the main entrance, or you enter where there is that seat I'm talking about, you could see it when you enter because it's a gated house, it's in the gate. So when you enter the house, there is this corner here like this, where you see the washing machine thing, and you know it's a kitchen, something. Even the scent, like if they had cooked, I'm not interested. I wasn't interested in that first of all. Let me see if I, but I'm at least very I see things, right? So I see things and I know. So when I entered, I at least saw that corner. I saw the house. I'm talking about the garden up to today. I seen there was a little garden, there was a tree, all this kind of thing because I had seen it, right? So I'm in there for like an hour. I'm only seated. Around I think about 30 minutes, right? I start to hear sounds. Like they speak louder and louder. Like not really. It didn't really get me worried, but it got me thinking. Like until let's say minute 30, until 30 minutes, I didn't hear a thing. Like it seems like they were trying. I don't know what was going on, but from what I understood, with hindsight of that day, later in the evening, it seems like the guy didn't have the console, so he had to kind of argue with the parents, or he had to kind of um, what I don't really know what's going on. Like that was happening in their room. So he went to the room, and the reason I don't know which room he went to. I'm just guessing his parents' room is because he went to that room, to a room. I maybe thought maybe he was going to go and bring the console, whatever. I didn't even think he was going to go and talk with his parents. But and okay, let me keep it also to the point that until then I had not seen any of his parents, if I'm not mistaken. I had seen one of his siblings. I think I had seen one of his elder brothers leave the house. But other than that, I had not seen any other person. So I didn't even know who was going to go. I had my own at that moment. I thought he was going to go and bring the console. When he started to take more time, I was like, "Is there maybe a problem?" And I thought that for a second. Like I thought that, but it was so easy for me to swipe that thinking because I was like, I want to play. I know my game is coming. I'm going to play because it was even the kind of thing where once I entered that house, I just knew I was good. Like it's a rich house. Let's leave it at that. It's a rich house. So the gaming console must be there, and the chances I play, even if I my logic was the chances I play is very high. For sure, I'm going to play. Like it's just that I might not play for so long. The parents might be very restrictive and all this kind of thing. I was like, that's fine if I play for a little bit. So I've been waiting minute 30. I started hearing some sounds, but I was still not worried. I was like, whatever, they are arguing. For like 30 minutes, they were arguing, but not so loud. They were talking like I'm talking right now. No, and I wasn't really trying to get what they were saying because I didn't want to get into things where the guy I just met, secondly, they were French guys. Like, I didn't know much about them, right? So I'm waiting there. And funny enough, because there's a little bit of nervousness when you're in somebody's place, especially for the first time, all these kind of things. I'm like, I'm sweating a little bit, right? Because what's going on? And then an hour later now, things start to escalate. And this is where it's very interesting because I didn't even know how to live. I didn't even know how should I work out, should I stay in. The parents they come out and they start telling him, you can't, whatever, you are. In fact, from what I understood of like hindsight, because I truly wasn't, I didn't get what happened. Hindsight, like the guy was just a spoiled child, honestly. So when I sat there, when the argument passed for about an hour, really. At some point now, the guy left the room, and they were shouting at him, "Come back here, whatever. You can't do like you can't do that, whatever." They were just saying things, and then now, all of a sudden, because it's an African home, they say, "Come here, I'm going to beat you up." He wanted to run. In fact, he wanted to like escape, whatever. So the parent first of all helped him. I think he first of all held him and gave him a slap. I think his dad. So at that point, I was like, "Well, what am I doing here?" So when he gave him the slap, I was like, bro, now I'm here. And it was a corridor far away. I didn't even know whether to leave. I didn't even know whether to stay. I didn't know what to do. And then the guy he had not started running straight. By the time he first left, he was just shouting at him, but he just left and he was walking. So the dad came and gave him a slap. He kind of started run. He started wanted to run. The dad now went and took, I think it was a belt or something, to beat him up. And then he came. He first of all said, okay, when he gave that slap, the guy was like running away. He first of all came when he was walking with speed, like he was walking. For the guy was walking fast. The guy was like trying to run away. That person came and said, "Who are you?" I was like, "I'm his friend." What are you there? I'm sorry. I was like, I was trying to present myself from the same school as him, whatever, whatever. He said, "Okay, wait for that." He said, "Okay." The dad went inside. At the same time, also the mom also came outside, and that's when she asked, "Who are you? Whatever. What are you doing here?" I'm saying, "I've been waiting for him, whatever." We're from the same school. So, and then that's when actually the dad now went inside, said, "Wait for him." Yeah, just like the dad was angry, nervous, and all those. He was on his nerves, right? Just wait for him. Okay. That went inside, took a belt. He wanted to beat him up, and then they were now following him, and mom was following him too. I don't even know what was going on. Like, honestly, I don't even know what was going on. Without following him, the guy took a knife. They took it. I mean, literally took a knife. Went to the kitchen and took. When they were trying to follow him around the house, right? Because it was multiple doors. The main door. Actually, where I was sitting, the main door wasn't even affected. I think it was the kitchen door and then the door, the corridor door. That's the door he was standing. They were turning around that door. So when he turned around the door, I think like once or twice around the gate. You were inside the gate around the yard. Because I was seeing everything. Funny enough, where you are, that guest seat I was seated at, you were seated near the main door, so you could see the outside, and then you were seated. The seat was kind of oriented towards the parlor. I could see the parlor, and I could see the corridor where there were the rooms, and so I could actually almost see there was the other door leading to the outside that I talked about, which I could actually see it from there, from where I was seated. So at that time I was already so nervous I didn't even know what to do. I already knew I wasn't playing. Like fact, I already knew there's no way it's done. So let's say that time now they were trying to follow him for like a few minutes. The guy took a knife and said, I'm going to kill myself. That's when the mom, you know how emotional moms are, and then I really props to moms. So the mom was like, son, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. We're not doing this for what? Because I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to kill myself because they don't even know what I said because they don't like me in this house, whatever. I was just looking at the guy and I was tired. I'm honestly telling you guys, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I didn't, but I was, my mind was like, wait, bro, are you telling me all of what you described? If that's really your reality, because when we're in that bus that Wednesday, what that guy told me, especially the game inside, I don't know much about every other thing. But what the guy told me about the game inside, I play games, all of that thing, all of what you told me, I was like, bro, you have an amazing life. What's going on? Why do you fucking want to kill yourself? I have to say these words. Why the fuck did you want to kill yourself? So I'm going back to the scenario because I was like, bro, why? Because the guy took the knife. Now he was when he was like, I'm just killing myself. I didn't know whether the guy was serious. I didn't know much about the guy. I mean, that's until that Wednesday. I don't even know whether I'd ever seen the guy, or maybe I'd seen the guy before, but we had never discussed. Until that day we had discussed, and I never discussed the guy. And until that Sunday, we didn't meet even after that Wednesday. So I didn't know much about him. So when he did that, they said, keep that knife down, put that knife down, put that knife down. Then the guy finally made on say, I think he put the knife. They said, it's okay, whatever. The parents escalated on the issue and so he put the knife down. Then they said, please accompany your friend. The guy just went out. He went out and left me out of the gate. In fact, he didn't go out of the gate. He went out, put me out. I was, in fact, he went out. He told me, let's go. I went out of the gate. Then he stood inside the gate and told me maybe another day. As you see, I said, okay, no, bro, take care. Funny enough, from that day until I think that was a year after that year I left that school too, whatever. But from that day till forever, I've never seen that guy again. In fact, the thing is, I've not really passed through the guy's house again ever because of the very interesting eclectic experience. But from then, I've never seen the guy ever again, ever, ever. Funny enough, and I had never gone back to his house. I never, like, never. I just said, when I just left, I just said, whew, I had a very, I had a very deep breath when I left that gate. And when the guy, especially when the guy told me, you see what's happening, so we can play. I was like, okay, cool, bro, take care. I hope everything, like, my problem was, I just hope everything works out, whatever. When he locked the gate, oh, I took a very deep breath. Yeah, and actually, that deep breath was in my mind. I didn't even take the deep breath. I just started going back home. And I went back home. But it was still so early, bro. I went back. It was still like 4. I went back home. Couldn't do any other thing. So, but first of all, with the experience, I couldn't even go elsewhere. That experience was so unique and so I kind of mixed with fun, mixed with what a lot. So I just went back home without even thinking twice. Very early. I'd left the house at around 1:30. By 4 I was back. Why my goal was to play there until if they didn't tell me go home, I'd be leaving there was about about at least 7. I know myself. So when that guy left me and I went back home, because I'm talking with benefit of hindsight, right? I think maybe the Monday the Monday after was school and whatever. But I know that after some time I thought about that incident. And it was so funny to me. So funny to me. I thought about just the way it's almost the same way I've experienced it. That's how I've thought about it quite a few times. And today I just said let me record it because you know some experiences are just fun to record. Are just fun to even talk about like some fun things, right? And this was a long time ago, really long time. I was like honestly, when I tried to think about it, I was either 12, 13, or 14. Around that age group, because that's when I was still where I was in that place. After that, I left that school. When I was 14, I left that school. So it was around 12, 13, 14, 14 years old. And it was a very interesting experience, really. Oh my god, dude. What?